So then we have to think about the land itself and our topographical effects. Slope, aspect, and position. Slope is how steep it is, aspect is what direction it faces, and then position is where you are on the slope. Are you in the top of the slope, mid slope, or bottom of the slope? Okay, why does any of this matter with fire? How the wind plays into it, right? If we've got a hill and we're burning, tell me what, and here's my fire. If I light a fire up here, just generally, how is that going to be different than lighting a fire here or here? What's a fire going to do? So if you burn here, there's not much fuel or anything. If you start the fire here, let's just say wind aside, it has to burn downhill, right? Fire likes to burn uphill, right? Why does fire like to burn uphill? Go back to our fire triangle. The heat, and what else then? More fuel. So all of these things that we observe have very practical reasons behind them. If the fire's up here, it doesn't have much heat, nor does it have much fuel, just because of heat rises. It's as simple as that is. That's why our hills matter. So if we're trying to secure a fire unit, and we can, it's often best to burn off of our fire lines so that it burns uphill and away as quick as possible. If we were lighting this over on this side of the hill, it would have to go down the hill first, and it would take a much longer period of time. When possible, if we can burn and secure our fire lines with uphill, taking advantage of all of the laws of nature at that point, the fire wants, let's work with it. Let's let the fire burn uphill and away from our fire line. So we talked about weather changing in South Dakota really frequently, and here this is just an example of on the ground we had wind that would have been from east to west, but about 150 feet up, the wind was blowing in the completely opposite direction. If that wind comes down and drops, we're going to have a real problem, because everything that we planned for will now be 180 degrees opposite. So again, weather observations are super important, but also it's also very important to get our fires secured as quickly as we can. Fire can do its own things. Here we don't have much wind, and because we've lit our fire on two sides, the heat of the fire itself is sucking the smoke into the fire unit, but ultimately going the other direction. This is a really advanced technique. We used to do this on purpose a lot so that we would clear the smoke off of our fire line so we could actually see better down the line. It's not something that you can replicate in a lot of different conditions, but when we could replicate it, or when we had the right conditions, I would often choose to burn in those conditions because I knew that we could see down the fire line better. Conversely, what's going on here? What are we seeing? These are simply dust devils that are occurring after we've burned this fire unit. But why? It has to do with wind, and it has to do with weather conditions. What color is this? Black, right? Does black attract heat? Yeah. That's why we see dust devils form on tilled crop fields in the spring. Significantly warmer conditions here than even on the green grass here. We start to get heat rising and get convection, and pretty soon we got a dust devil. Extremely dangerous, because this can still have hot embers that are in it, and it could travel out into this dry grass behind you, or you never know where it's going to go. So we want to burn with wind. That's one of the most common questions I get is, why do you wait for a windy day to burn? Wind makes fire predictable. Not crazy amounts of wind, but most fires that are lost or where they escape is because people are burning on calm days where there isn't really any wind. And fire is going to do whatever it wants when there's no wind to direct its actions. And so ditch burning and stuff in the spring is why our volunteer fire departments are chasing fires all the time, because people wait for this calm of the evening and they light a fire. And those fires just do whatever they want.